Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Two Doomed Men podcast, the greatest, ready? The greatest podcast in the history of the country, perhaps even the world by far. I don't think anyone comes close.
What's up, Doom Nation, and welcome back. You are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. As always, it's Scagz and yours truly, the Captain. We got another episode for you today. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. Here we are. The October surprise has arrived. We predicted it. A lot of people were talking about it. Everyone was wondering. It happens almost every election cycle from one end or another. Someone drops an October surprise. To those who are not familiar with the term, what it means, it's essentially some bombshell thing comes out in October. The election's always at the beginning of November. And it's usually like held close to the chest.
Damning evidence.
Yeah. Like, what was it? What was it in 2016 maybe? But, like Giuliani had something that he held on to for a while that he released in October. I don't remember. I'm blanking.
Well, I guess last 2020 would have been the
Hunter Biden
laptop. Well,
yeah,
I'm sorry. To all the loons out there, it's still Russian disinformation.
Right. So that was the last, I guess, big October surprise. And this one, folks, is bigger. Just wait.
This one's going to end Trump's career, baby.
I think so. So we're going to be talking about that. But before we begin, I just wanted to, again, plug that we will be coming out with a Halloween special and on Halloween Day. We'll probably squeeze one more political episode in before that comes out, just because it's, we're so close.
Election, yeah.
We're so close. I don't want to let things go or let all that time go in between. But we'll have a little bit of fun before Election Day. So that's coming up. So, Captain, any other thoughts before we dive right into it?
No, let's just start shit talking Kamala right now.
Let's hear what she had to say, because she kind of led the charge on the October.
So now, before we get into this, though, before you press play, is this genuinely considered the October surprise?
I think so, in my opinion. Or if not, here's the thing. We control the narrative now, right? So, yes, this is the October surprise. A lot of people are talking about it that way. I got to be honest with you. I think this is all they got.
Because if this is it, this is the weakest. Like, I knew the Democrats were desperate. This almost makes me feel bad for them. Not bad enough to vote for them, but I'm like, damn, this is the best you got. All right.
So we'll watch a video, and then I'll read after to give you guys some context on what exactly we're talking about in full detail.
So yesterday we learned that Donald Trump's former chief of staff, John Kelly, a retired 4-star general, confirmed that while Donald Trump was president, he said he wanted generals like Adolf Hitler had. Donald Trump said that because he does not want a military that is loyal to the United States Constitution. He wants a military that is loyal to him. He wants a military who will be loyal to him personally, one that will obey his orders even when he tells them to break the law or abandon their oath to the Constitution of the United States. In just the past week, Donald Trump has repeatedly called his fellow Americans the enemy from within, and even said that he would use the United States military to go after American citizens. And let's be clear about who he considers to be the enemy from within. Anyone who refuses to bend a knee or dares to criticize him would qualify in his mind as the enemy within, like judges, like journalists, like nonpartisan election officials. It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans. All of this is further evidence for the American people of who Donald Trump really is. This is a window into who Donald Trump really is, from the people who know him best, from the people who worked with him side by side in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions. Those who once tried to stop him from pursuing his worst impulses would no longer be there and no longer be there to rein him in. So the bottom line is this. We know what Donald Trump wants. He wants unchecked power. The question in 13 days will be, what do the American people want? Thank you.
Well, force some unchecked power, baby.
That's it. That's the October surprise. Trump is Hitler.
How does one invoke Hitler?
Oh, we're going to get into that. We have the article that she's referencing. She said yesterday. So again, it came out yesterday, Cap. This article in the Atlantic that she's referencing came out yesterday, but she gave a full press conference about it today. So you asked me before, is this really it? Is this the October surprise? Yeah. Yes, it is. Right? Because they literally were like, we don't have anything. What do we do? Let's use this as our October surprise. Let's have her give a standing press conference in front of a white door or whatever it is she's doing. I will say one thing. I like the Game of Thrones reference where she said, bend the knee. That was pretty cool.
You know, the Democrats are in worse shape than I thought. It's not like they've never called Trump Hitler before. It's not like we haven't had a past decade of that nonsensical rhetoric being thrown around. But it scares me a little bit because I'm wondering if they're telling us what they're going to do to us. And that's if they don't win the election, and they generally can't rig it. And YouTube, I'm not saying that the election is rigged. I know you're still sensitive about that. That they are going to use the military against people who don't bend the knee to them. And for a general to go out on a limb and say Trump is the definition of a fascist, maybe it's better you're not a general anymore. Maybe it's better that you're not in a presidential cabinet or administration anymore, because you, as a military leader, don't even know the definition of fascism.
That's a good point, right?
You know,
we want these guys leading the charge.
These are the experts.
Putler over there in Poland, right? We want them leading the charge against the fascists over there in Europe. Just what about the fact that isn't it the president's prerogative who he decides to employ on his own administration? So, they're always spinning it as like, oh, Trump wants supreme loyalty and he dares to want to pick and choose who works for him. Oh, shit. So does every other boss on the history of bosses.
Why does the Democrats of the left want to pack the Supreme Court? Oh, that's right. Because not enough of their team members are on that team. So we got to grow the team so we could put more of our team members on it.
Sure.
How dare they?
Yeah. It's a funny point, Cap. I know what you do tongue in cheek, right? But the Supreme Court is detached from the executive branch.
Fair.
The executive branch, it's the president's prerogative to hire and fire whoever he deems, or whoever he wants to be in his administration. And if Trump wants this guy or not this guy or that guy or this guy, something we've criticized him about often. Some of his speaks were awful the first time, like John Bolton, for example. Does he not have the right to fire John Bolton? Yes, he does. Right. But
to them, he doesn't, because a lot of these people get these jobs because they're owed favors. And now Trump's not following through on other people's favors.
Yeah, it's all greaseball deep state shit. Even Biden. Remember, there was that guy that was in charge of the nuclear energy stuff, Sam Dinton or something like that. No. He dressed up like a dog.
Yes.
And then he stole luggage, and then they fired him. Oh,
yes.
I guess you can't fire the guy, right? Yeah. No, you can. You have, it's your prerogative. You're the boss of the executive branch. So you can. So, I mean, it's just a ridiculous, it's framed in a ridiculous way. It goes back to our last episode too, where we played her interview where she kept saying, the enemy within, he's going to use the military on people. Meanwhile, we showed how it's projection. We showed how the Pentagon just put out that memo that they didn't really have to put out again, kind of restating the fact that they have the ability to reinforce the local police and use the military on the civilian population within the borders of the United States. And we made the point, we're like, well, it's not, they already had that power, but why are they putting out a memo about this again? A month before the election.
It's just the iron law of woke projection. I mean, again, we literally changed the rules and the laws in the state of New York so Trump could be sued and charged, as a felon. We literally changed laws to persecute political opposition, and this is what they're going with. What's really sad to me is she said, 13 days? That was yesterday, so now we're 12 days away from the election or so. This is crunch time. This is crunch time to the fullest. And you have your base, and you have the millions of people that are going to vote for you. The only focus should be continuing on, like, the undecided vote. Coming out with your October surprise, they literally only, and this just, maybe they're giving up. Maybe they are that, they planned that poorly and underestimated Trump all over again. I don't know. But with rhetoric like this, they are only pandering to their base. And the lower end of their base with just Trump derangement syndrome. The people who are solely only voting for Kamala Harris, not because she's pro-choice, not because she's a black woman, because they have to vote against Trump. That's all they're pandering to with this. If you're undecided at this point in the game, which I doubt a lot of people aren't, but I do understand some people are, a speech like that is not going to get you more undecided votes. People are undecided right now because for the past 10 years, you told me Trump was this way, and none of that came true. You told me you guys were going to do a better job. You clearly did a shittier job. Everybody's awake. More people are awake now than they were in 2020 and 2016. They're looking for a reason to vote for her and to come out and go Trump's Hitler when you've heard for the past 8 years that Trump's Hitler and he's never done a single thing to prove this. Okay, I guess I'll go. You guys want to continue attacking Trump's character. You don't care to gain me. You're only pandering to your base. I'll go vote for Trump. I think they're almost trying to throw it at this point. That's why they're using such a weak October surprise.
I kind of don't agree with you. I think the people who think Trump is Hitler, they already think Trump is Hitler, and this isn't aimed at them. I do think this is aimed at the undecided person.
Well, that's even a worse game plan.
Right. Well, here's the thing. This is a bad move. Again, like I said at the beginning, I was expecting an October surprise. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be this, but this is what it is. That tells me they have no October surprise, no like real one that could actually move the needle at all. They are looking at their internal polling data and they realize, oh man, we are in trouble. I've seen polls. I've cited the betting poll. I've seen other polls. They're heading in the opposite direction in terms of who has the lead. Now again, the polls, don't trust them. Go out and vote. Disclaimer, etc. But I think that they were just like they're in the mode right now where they're like, we just got to try something, right? Because when you're down and when you're losing 40-0 in fourth quarter, you start throwing Hail Marys, right? Our biggest criticism of the Giants is that they just keep running the ball over and over and over again. They never try anything outside the box. So this is them, in a sense, not a good move. It's not going to work, in my opinion, but they're trying something. And what they're trying is Trump is Hitler. They're trying one more time to appeal to the fact that Trump is Hitler. And they got a guy from inside the previous Trump administration, one of the generals. And now they're, maybe they're being a little bit more nuanced with this time. We're going to read this here in a minute. Citing, that Trump said that he needs generals like Hitler had. So it's slightly different, but at the end of the day, it's still just Trump is Hitler. That's really all it is at the end of the day. So it's kind of shocking. I'm not going to lie. It's not what I was expecting whatsoever. And again, it goes back to her, what I said at the very beginning when they picked her, like that's her wheelhouse, like prepared, scripted statements. Stay with that. We've seen how she's done terrible in every interview she's been in. Right, that's where she's gonna, maybe she'll do good, and she didn't even do great there, to be honest with you.
And there, if we look for it, we'll probably be able to find it. There's like a Mockingbird video of her circling online where she gives the same word for word answer at like 20 different events. She cannot do an interview. She can only regurgitate memorized answers to certain topics.
Yeah. Watch our last episode. We just covered that, right? When she found one thing she thought worked, and that speech with Brett Baer, she just kept using it. I'm going to follow the law. I'm going to follow the law. All right, so this is the I want to give everybody the full context here because we're not the corporate press. We actually do tell you everything that happens. So this is the article she's referencing. It's in the Atlantic. Trump, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. The Republican nominee's preoccupation with dictators and his disdain for the American military is deepening, by Jeffrey Goldberg. So there's more to this than just that. I actually thought it was a pretty interesting article. I'm going to read up to the part where they talk about the generals and whatnot, but I want to read up until there because this is really interesting, honestly. In April 2020, Vanessa Guillen, a 20-year-old Army private, was bludgeoned to death by a fellow soldier at Fort Hood in Texas. The killer, aided by his girlfriend, burned Guillen's body. Guillen's remains were discovered 2 months later, buried in a riverbank near the base after a massive search. Guillen, the daughter of Mexican immigrants, grew up in Houston, and her murder sparked outrage across Texas and beyond. Fort Hood became known as a particularly perilous assignment for female soldiers, and members of Congress took up the cause of reform. Shortly after her remains were discovered, President Donald Trump himself invited the Guillen family to the White House, with Guillen's mother seated beside him. Trump spent 25 minutes with the family as television cameras recorded the scene. In the meeting, Trump maintained a dignified posture and expressed sympathy to Guillen's mother. I saw what happened to your daughter, Vanessa, who was a spectacular person and respected and loved by everyone, including in the military, Trump said. Later in the conversation, he made a promise. If I can help you out with the funeral, I'll help. I'll help you with that, he said. I'll help you out. Financially, I'll help you. Nathalie Kawam, the family's attorney, responded, I think the military will be taking care of it. Trump replied, good. They'll do a military. That's good. If you need help, I'll help you out. Later, a reporter covering the meeting asked Trump, have you offered to do that for other families before? Trump responded, I have. Personally, I have to do it personally. I can't do it through government. The reporter then asked, so you've written checks to help people, to help for others families before this. Trump turned to the family still present and he said, I have, because some families need help. Maybe you don't need help from a financial standpoint. I have no idea what. I just think it's a horrific thing that happened. And if you did need help, I'm going to help you. I'll be there to help you. This does sound like Trump, like the way the way that the words are being said or the sentences are structured, I guess you could say. A public memorial service was held in Houston 2 weeks after the White House meeting. It was followed by a private funeral and a burial in the local cemetery, attended by, among others, the mayor of Houston and the city's police chief. Highways were shut down, mourners led in streets. 5 months later, the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, announced the results of the investigation. McCarthy cited numerous leadership failures in Fort Hood and relieved or suspended several officers, including the base's commanding general. In a press conference, McCarthy said that the murder shocked our conscience and forced us to take a critical look at our systems, our policies, and ourselves. According to a person close to Trump at the time, the president was agitated by McCarthy's comments and raised questions about the severity of the punishments dispensed to senior officers and non-commissioned officers. In an Oval Office meeting on December 4th, 2020, officials gathered to discuss a separate national security issue. Toward the end of the discussion, Trump asked for an update on the McCarthy investigation. Chris Miller, the acting Secretary of Defense, Trump had fired his predecessor, Mark Esper, 3 weeks earlier, writing in a tweet, Mark Esper has been terminated, was in attendance, along with Miller's chief of staff, Kash Patel. At a certain point, according to two people present at the meeting, Trump asked, did they bill us for the funeral? What did it cost? According to attendees and to contemporaneous notes of the meeting taken by a participant, an aide answered, yes, we have received a bill. The funeral cost $60,000. Trump became angry. It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury a fucking Mexican. He turned to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order. Don't pay for it. Later that day, he was still agitated. Can you believe it? He said, according to a witness, fucking people trying to rip me off. Kawam, the family attorney, told me she sent the bill to the White House, but no money was ever received by the family from Trump. Some of the costs, Kawam said, were covered by the Army, which offered, she said, to allow Guillen to be buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and some were covered by donations. Ultimately, Guillen was buried in Houston. I'm going to stop right here real quick before we get into the part about the Nazis and the generals. This really just pisses me off because our buddy, Chris, his father passed away a few months ago, right? And he was a veteran, served. And I had him on at the time. He was going through a rough time. And Chris was trying his hardest to get him buried in the military cemetery. And he couldn't get, he tried. I tried to help him. A bunch of people tried. He went above and beyond to try and get his dad in there and do him proud. And they just, the bureaucracy of government could not figure it out and get it done for him. And then that didn't happen. He just went along and did his own thing of his own accord. Here they are taking that scenario now. Trump is offering to help the person who had this happen to them. The government did pay for their funeral, but they're spinning it. They're making, again, the death of a person a political attack point at Trump when they did actually pay for it at the end of the day. This is like, I'm sorry if I'm not.
It's
even
just because it's
myself why it pisses me off so much. I'm just thinking about Jamie and his dad, and it's just really chapping my ass right now.
Well, because Jamie and his father, unfortunately, were not important to a political agenda. You know, if he knew Donald Trump and Trump came to Jamie's house and said we're going to pay for it, the news, Trump bribing local Bronx man to vote for, it's sad because someone's death is being desecrated in a political battle that's all due to corrupt agendas and pushing agendas and propagating agendas on people. So this person's death in the grand scheme of thing doesn't matter. It only matters that Trump's going to look bad. And if we have to use this death to make him look bad, we're gonna. And it's the sickening part of all this.
The comment, backing up a little bit, the comment, they're trying to rip me off for a fucking Mexican's burial. I mean, come on now. And what's the source on that one? 2 people, right? Yeah. No details whatsoever. A person told a person, right, of the thing. One of those. We're gonna keep going here because it gets even worse. And shortly after I emailed a series of questions to a Trump spokesperson, Alex Pfeiffer, I received an email from Kawam, who asked me to publish a statement from Myra Gillen, Vanessa's sister. Pfeiffer then emailed me the same statement. I'm beyond grateful for the support President Donald Trump has showed our family during a trying time, the statement reads. I witnessed firsthand how Trump honors our nation's heroes' service. We are grateful for everything he has done and continues to support our troops. So there you go. Pfeiffer told me that he did not write that statement and emailed me a series of denials regarding Trump's fucking Mexican comment. Pfeiffer wrote, President Donald Trump never said that. This is an outrageous lie from The Atlantic 2 weeks before the election. I will give The Atlantic credit here. They are just kind of like telling you everything. In a sense.
The story.
Yeah. He provides statements from Patel and a spokesperson for Meadows who denied having heard Trump make the statement. Via Pfeiffer, Meadows' spokesperson also denied that Trump had ordered Meadows not to pay for the funeral. The statement from Patel that Pfeiffer sent me said, as someone who was present in the room with President Trump, he strongly urged that SPC Vanessa Guillen's grieving family should not have to bear the cost of any funeral arrangements, even offering to personally pay himself in order to honor her life and sacrifice. In addition, President Trump has been able to have the Department of Defense designate her death as occurring in the line of duty, which gave her full military honors and provided her family access to benefits, services, and complete financial assistance. So there you go on that. Here we go. So now this is it's interesting, right, Cap? Because that was a lot.
Yes.
There. And it was interesting.
A whole drama that led up to this, yeah.
But that's not what they focused on. That's not the October surprise. That's just part of the article. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was bullshit, right? The Atlantic covered it pretty evenly, even given that they were involved in the whole thing as well. So let's go on to the next part. The personal qualities displayed by Trump in his reaction to the cost of the Guillen funeral, contempt, rage, parsimony, racism, hardly surprised his inner circle. Trump has frequently voiced his disdain for those who serve in the military and for their devotion to duty, honor, and sacrifice. Former generals who have worked for Trump say that the sole military virtue he prizes is obedience. As his presidency drew to a close and in the years since, he has become more and more interested in the advantages of dictatorship and the absolute control over the military that he believes it would deliver. I need the kind of generals that Hitler had, Trump said in a private conversation in the White House. According to two people who heard him say this, people who were totally loyal to him, that follow orders. This is absolutely false, Pfeiffer wrote in an email. President Trump never said this. Stop. So even in this quote itself, in the Atlantic article, they're citing people backing up the fact that this was completely false. But let's go back to the quote itself. The source is two
people in the White House.
Two people.
And now the vice president of the country is coming out and relying her October surprise on some two people.
Two people. That's your source. The October surprise is built on the words of two people. Who are these two people? No idea.
Right? We got to protect them. It's national security.
You have actual named people on the record saying this is completely false.
Yeah.
Right? But literally, the Democratic candidate, the vice president, the White House, there was another video of them today, are just echoing this thing as if it's complete fact, right?
Just like Kamala hasn't ran the country for the past 4 years.
Oh boy. Let's read this other thing here, and then we'll keep it going. Desire to force U.S. military leaders to be obedient to him and not the Constitution is one of the constant themes of Trump's military-related discourse. Former officials have also cited other recurring themes: his denigration of military service, his ignorance of the provisions of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, his admiration for brutality and anti-democratic norms of behavior, and his contempt for wounded veterans and for soldiers who fell in battle. Why? Because he said something mean about John McCain, one of the worst warmongers of the 20th century. So there you have it. That's their October surprise. Again, I just want to make the point, their October surprise is picking one quote out of this article, which isn't a great article, but it's pretty balanced, and ignoring the balancing of the article and then spinning it as Trump is Hitler again.
It's pathetic, honestly. Maybe they're just trying to, somebody said it'd probably just be best for the Democrats to let Trump win. So in 4 years, they could just pick up where they left off. Just get him out of the way. You know what I mean? Like, eat the frog first and just get it over with at this point.
Maybe. I mean, that was one of my theories of why they chose Kamala, right? I mean, again, going back to that point that they just made in there that he's anti-democratic. I mean, was the Democratic Party primaries, Democratic?
Yeah.
But the point I made was that they're burning her as a shitty candidate because they didn't think they had a great choice given Biden's old age and the polls, the way they were looking, etc. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
And, we're relying this on two people that were on the White House. And we're only taking the word of generals that he fired or used to work with him, who I'm sure are war hawkish, who I'm sure have ties to the military industrial complex. And for 4 years, these generals didn't have a war to fight. Now, for the past 4 years, they've had a war to fight. These guys, they're just as war hawkish as the rest of everyone. They're making the money at the top with, anybody who is investing in the military industrial complex. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't take the word of of an ex-general and two random people to really change. I'm still just shocked that this is the best the October.
Here's the thing. General now is a political position.
Yes, it is.
We talked about this, I think, with Professor Giordano, and it's very obvious. And I've heard many people say this over the years. But like back in World War II, the largest war ever fought, I think we had like 6 or 7 generals. Now we have like 60 or 70. And, there's no world war at the moment. There could be, but there is none at the moment. So like with the rest of the government, so has the amount of generals grown, as the insane size of government has ballooned since World War II. And it's basically a political fucking position at this point. So when Trump does speak bad about generals, first of all, it's his prerogative, freedom of speech. They are his employees, right? Because he's the commander-in-chief. If he wants to remove them, he can. Second of all, yes, a lot of these guys are 100% in like the deep state.
Yeah.
Or
that's how they got these positions.
The deep state. Mark Milley, right? Mark Milley, remember when he went up there and he talked about, I want to understand white rage? Like touting, like towing the line of this divisive critical race theory thing at the time. The general's getting, like one of the top, the Joint Chiefs of Staff guy is getting top. I remember he made contact with a Chinese general saying that if Trump ordered to fire nukes, that
we would stop it. Yeah,
he would stop it. I mean, dude, is that not treason? Like,
yeah,
I'll be honest with you. I think at the time I even said, I'm like, God, I hope so. I hope that the generals actually would do that. And if there was a crazy president that ordered to launch all the nukes, the generals would call each other up and be like, whoa, no. Yeah. Let's actually just hash this out, not do this. Right. But that wasn't the case. Trump was not going to launch any nukes or do anything like that. It was using the idea of Trump launching the nukes as a political talking point against Trump in the moment. While now the administration has us every single day on the brink of nuclear war with Russia and is constantly poking that bear and daring Vladimir Putin to use it.
Yeah, I've been hearing, man, it is just so... There's no words to describe it, but I've been hearing more and more, Trump's going to start World War III. Bro, what has Biden been doing? Biden has been proxy warring World War III. If we're not already in World War III and they just didn't announce it, like, it boggles my mind that, in 2015, when Trump was running, you could say he was going to be a dictator. You could say women were going to lose their rights. You could say he was going to bring back slavery. You could say all these crazy things in 2015. And then when he took office in 2016, you had every right to be scared and nervous that he's going to start World War III. Women are going to lose all their rights. But then it didn't happen. Right? You know what I mean? Like none of that happened. And then Biden got into office, and now obviously women didn't lose their rights. Actually, Roe v. Wade? Roe v. Wade got overturned under him.
Well, not only that, but he tried to, control a woman's body by passing vaccine mandates. Right?
Fair enough. So then
he tried to censor Americans' freedom of speech, especially around COVID, as the Twitter files proved.
Yes. And so now Biden's in. We got Russia and Ukraine going on. We have Israel completely destroying Gaza. We have Iran and Israel. We have Israel and Lebanon. We have the whole Middle East in turmoil. We left millions of guns and ammo and tanks and military supplies in Afghanistan within like the first 2 weeks of this guy taking office. And let's be real, China is just sitting back waiting for November 6th. And if Kamala wins, they invade Taiwan. If Trump wins, they're not even going to build car manufacturing plants in Mexico. Okay. So it's always been so bizarre to me that, like, we had 4 years of Trump, no wars, no dictatorship. We had 4 years of Joe Biden, and our free speech has been attacked. Our right to our own bodies have been attacked. Wars have started. And now you're going to tell me Trump's going to be a dictator when he didn't do it the first time.
And that he's, invoking Adolf Hitler,
yeah.
A man who perpetrated the Holocaust against the Jews. Look, man, one of my biggest criticisms of Donald Trump is that he is way too apparently beholden to Israeli interests. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous to claim that Donald Trump is a Nazi or anti-Semitic or against the Jews or something like that. On October 7th, he was just at Chabad Lovowitz, thing in Queens with Ben Shapiro, paying his respects to everybody who died on October 7th. He moved the embassy, to Jerusalem, giving them what they wanted, the recognition that that's the capital of Israel. Miriam Adelson's like his biggest donor, giving him hundreds of millions of fucking dollars. He's always giving speeches at things like that. I have nothing against Jewish people. I'm just against the Israeli government, influencing our government and then getting us into wars. And that's one of Trump's weak points, in my opinion. So to say that he's, Holocaust, are you kidding me? It couldn't be more further from reality.
And this whole thing, one thing that has been bothering me is his disdain for the military. All stems back to one debunked quote. Oh, look at these suckers and losers, when he never said that. They have the derangement syndrome people and the weak-minded people believing he hates the military. But isn't it so strange that everybody except the top brass that's in the military is like super pro Trump.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
good point. Yeah, right. It's because those are political positions at the top.
Yeah,
the boots on the ground guys. Yeah, I mean, most of them you see them, you know them, right?
Yeah.
I know them, you know them.
Yeah,
they're all pro Trump guys for the most part. I'm not every single one, right? But a majority of them are. Look, man, I just saw this before too. Just the balls of Kamala Harris to invoke or to reference the Holocaust right now, while what Israel's doing to Gaza.
Yeah.
Let me say something controversial. It could be considered a version of a Holocaust. What's happening to the Palestinians in Gaza, right?
Yeah, I've been saying that since October 7th last year.
Whose administration is arming and funding Israel right now doing that? Kamala Harris is, right? So give me a fucking break. What a weak talking point.
Virtue signaling to Israel. We're going to protect you. What's the biggest threat to Americans today? Iran, because they're going to attack Israel, and Americans need to protect Israel. Yeah. It is our requirement.
Yep. There you go. There you have it. So, Captain, in my opinion, man, my assessment of this whole thing is, holy shit, they are in trouble. And I'm pretty confident Donald Trump is not going to win the election. I got to be honest with you. I'm not, again, I feel like everyone, you see, the fact that actually, anytime I've heard someone on the right say this, they then follow that up with like, be careful. That doesn't mean don't go vote. Yeah. That's how laser focused everybody on the right is at the moment in terms of when, like, we make sure that anytime we say this, we also add a disclaimer to it. Like, that doesn't mean sit back and do nothing, right?
Got to show up and vote, people.
Yeah. And I'm not the only person. You're not the only person. I've heard many, many people say that over time. Even now, Dave Smith, as of today, is saying that he's going to vote for Donald Trump.
Which, as I said in the group chat, Dave, I have such a bone to pick with you. I don't care that you had kids. I don't know your kids. You should have been running. You would have dominated the news cycle. You would have destroyed Kamala and Trump in all the debates. You were the chosen one. Okay,
yeah, that's a good point.
I don't care that he has kids. I'm sorry, he's Jon Snow in this situation. Should have been king, but. Maybe in 2028 we'll see what happens.
Maybe Monday morning quarterbacking it. Perhaps if a Chase Oliver has basically been non-existent, but if a Dave Smith had made a compelling case akin to what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. did, Donald Trump perhaps would have made overtures to Dave Smith and the Libertarian Party a little bit harder, and they could have had a similar moment that him and RFK had, Trump and RFK had, and perhaps Dave Smith could have in some way had Donald Trump's year as well. Now, that's being said, the Libertarian Party does have a little bit of working together with Trump at the moment. It's good. We covered that before. But, got to think outside the box here.
Right. So now I am thinking outside the box. This was a question I wanted to raise to you. We're talking about October surprise. We're talking about Trump's pretty much got this in the bag to win the election, all this stuff. I don't think the game's over. This is my personal opinion. Wanted to get your take on it. One, the lights are still on. We got 12 days to go to the election. There's no hurricanes on the horizon, so maybe they don't make the weather or whatever. But one, it's going to be very odd if a Black Swan event takes place in the next 10 days. That literally changes the landscape of the country. Two, my big fear is, with the mail-in ballots we had last year, there was this leeway. We're not getting as much mail-in ballots. A lot of early voting polls are showing Trump's ahead. My concern is, what about like a December surprise, instead of an October surprise? There was this big thing last year, 4 years ago, January 6th. They didn't want the election to be certified. Somebody who is a Democrat said this, that, if Trump wins, they're not going to certify the election. Now, this person's a nobody. They wouldn't know, but this is what their opinion is and they feel. And it got me thinking, like, this election, the problem's going to be no one is going to accept the outcome. If Kamala wins, we're all going to sit here saying it was rigged. If Trump wins, they're all going to sit there and say Russia, 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 or cook up something else. January 6th rolls around. They don't want to certify the elections. They create, what is it called? Something civil war. Conditions for civil war or something. Do you think that there could potentially be a bigger fight after the election, because I could promise you there will be no peaceful transition of power this time around.
Yeah, it definitely is possible. Sorry, MAGA folks, but if he wins the election, then the work actually begins, right?
Yeah.
As I've said many times, winning the election is just the first. It's going to sound crazy, right? But that's when things actually begin. Like, that's when the work actually begins, right?
Yeah.
Forget about it. Winning the election, he then has to literally survive until January 20th.
Well, I mean, even once he becomes president, that doesn't mean they're going to stop trying to kill him.
Sure. So I meant to say this before, but I lost my train of thought. How about the fact that this could be just another like dog whistle? Trump's Hitler. Someone else. Someone.
Don't you want to kill baby Hitler? Go back in time and kill baby Hitler.
Like it's rhetoric that could antagonize some crazy loon, to some extent or another, as we've seen, a couple have taken a shot. Is there more to that or not? Who knows? It could be that, man. And then again, there are only 12 days left, so this would be very short notice for some crazy loon to do something in 12 days. But he doesn't actually become president if he wins until January something. And then he's just president, right? That doesn't mean that someone won't try again later when he actually is president or another. I don't think there's necessarily like a rush to do anything, to be honest with you, Cap. Like there could be. They could be that desperate, but there's not necessarily a rush. Why? What's the difference? If he gets in office, it's not like, will he maybe start moving to fix some things and get some people out of the deep state? And, like Tucker Carlson said, like when he was on Joe Rogan's, like, you want to fucking go after a deep state? On day fucking one, everyone's security clearance who doesn't work for the government anymore is immediately pulled. If he starts doing some things like that, I mean, who's to say that those people are just going to like go away quietly? Yeah. They probably will fight back. And then he's got 4 years. I mean, he's got the rest of his life. So, and he's old, right? So the fact that he's after power, the fucking guy's an old man. How much longer does he even have to live?
What was Joe Biden doing? Huh? He wasn't after power. Yeah.
Oh man, it's the deep state who's after power.
I know.
Trying to preserve power. Even if Trump does root them out and get them out of power, man. I mean, is he gonna find and throw in prison or every single person in every dark corner of the world? Probably not. Right?
I always said, how could you? I mean, I'm very pro abolishing the CIA, I'm full JFK with this, and maybe I shouldn't say this next to my window. My head might pop like a watermelon, but like shatter it and throw them into the wind. But I always said, like, the CIA is so ingrained throughout the world. Like, like, what is their headquarters in like Virginia or something, right? Yeah, we could close the brick and mortar office building and the CIA is no more and nobody has no clearance or anything. But then there's just some black site on an island.
With the bases in Ukraine.
Yeah. Or even, let's be real, underground. We could get conspiratorial. Underground. Dark side of the moon for all we know at this point.
Right. At this point, yeah. Right. Maybe that's what, maybe they're running the Earth is flat moon fake hoax.
Yeah.
Look, man, I think it was Thomas Jefferson said, freedom requires eternal vigilance. Yeah. Right. So again, there'll always be another threat. Even again, like there's no moment, at least in my opinion, like could you perhaps relax a little bit? Are your liberty under so much threat? It would be under less threat, perhaps at different points in history. But your liberty is always under threat because it's kind of just human nature. There's going to be a bunch of evil people who conspire to want to usurp power from everybody, and then I'm the king in the castle and all that shit. That's always going to happen, right? So it's a lot of hard work here in the days ahead. But I'm actually pretty white pilled, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm not trying to black pill people. It's just it got it got me thinking, and I'm like, they could. I mean, it's not over until this guy's sitting in the White House writing executive orders on day one. You know what I'm saying? No, it's not. It's genuinely that's when you have to step on the gas. That's when you got to give it gas. But I'm just saying, like, they could pull anything between November 6th and January 20th, 21st, or whatever it's going to be. They could do a lot of damage.
Sure. I'll also make the flip side argument of this. Again, some Trump people, I've heard them say, like, if he loses, this country is over. No, no, it's not. No, this country is over when, like, I'm dead and buried in the ground, and many people like me. Do you know what I mean? So no, like, please, boomers, I don't want to hear that. If your mentality is that the moment the guy you want to fix everything for you fails, it's over, then you're honestly just in the way to begin with.
Well, I think after this Trump administration, we have to make it clear to the boomers.
Yeah,
you're out.
You're out.
You're out.
You're out.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't ever want to see another boomer in power again.
I do want to show this last clip before we wrap this up, Cap, unless you have any other points you want to make.
Nope. I made my question and pled my case.
All right. Fair enough. So this was interesting. Tim Walz, Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick, was on Jon Stewart's. He's back at the Daily Show, which is ironic. And Jon Stewart asked him a damn good question, and I think we should all listen to the response.
The Cheney thing. Do we really have to do that?
Was brought in that. Look, Bernie Sanders, Dick Cheney, Taylor Swift.
No.
The shooting.
No.
Having the Cheneys on board.
No, you can't. Dick Cheney or Taylor Swift. No.
We're a big tent.
What country did Taylor Swift get us to invade? No.
Yeah. No, don't you think though that, and I do this, I believe this.
Yeah.
There is still a core group of folks out there. You know, your point being, and not joke, the don't tread on me, the Reagan piece of this, the libertarian piece, but the constitutional piece.
Yes.
There are a lot of people out there. I think Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney give permission to those folks who want to find a reason to do the right thing.
Oh man, he invoked, like I said before,
wasn't even a great question. That wasn't even a good answer, man.
He said the word libertarian, so we have been invoked. I have to now defend my people. Get the fuck out of here. That Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney gives libertarians permission to support Kamala Harris. Are you kidding me, man?
I couldn't think of anything further.
Go to any of the Libertarian Party state page accounts and search their tweets for Dick Cheney or Liz Cheney. And let's see what libertarians think about the Cheneys in that regard. I will say that, man, Tim Walz is way more charismatic than Kamala Harris. That was a goddamn good question. He was able to not have like a complete nuclear meltdown. He did kind of spin it into something and sound confident and laugh. Yeah.
This was like when they touted that the IRS, backs Kamala Harris. Oh boy. Yeah. Trump even was like, you can have that one. Yeah. It's just, it comes down to us versus them, good versus evil, light versus dark, whatever you want to, excuse me, I sound like Kamala Harris now, whatever you want to say. To them, like Dick Cheney's establishment, right? Like Republicans and libertarians and anybody who is anti-war hates the Cheney family. Anybody who did any research on history and the 20-year war and weapons of mass destruction and George Bush, people always come up to me and they're like, well, Bush, but I was like, whoa, I didn't like Bush either. All right. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I definitely didn't like Dick Cheney. And everybody on the outside knows this is a corrupt deep state official that's just compromised on the right. Touting him and saying that, we got him, just proves our point even further.
Right. To be honest with you, like that's a point that we're always using against them.
Yeah.
And the fact that they are just like, no. Like, we like the fact that he endorsed us. That's good. We're trying to spin it as the don't tread on me people. It gives them permission to vote for us.
Which is wild to attach him to the don't tread on me people.
And look,
because all he's done is tread on people.
Yeah, I get that concept too. Like, that's a valid concept. Many people have said, like Ron Paul gave right-wingers permission to be anti-war because he was the good Texan country doctor, conservative guy who was like, no, we don't have to fight every fucking war around the globe and be the world empire. You could be right-wing and have that opinion. So, like, that's a valid concept, right? But it ain't fucking applicable to Dick Cheney and libertarians, right? Dick Cheney represents war, empire, the death of 500,000 Iraqis based off of a lie. He was the grand architect of that entire thing. And Jon Stewart, as many criticisms I have of him, he made a great point. He's like, what war has Taylor Swift started? And killed. Again, for all our criticism for her, she hasn't. But Dick Cheney has, and he's an evil person. Why did he endorse Kamala Harris? It's not because he likes the Constitution or believes that she's going to protect democracy. No, he knows that she's part of the war machine. She represents that whole thing. And that's where his bread is buttered. That's where his beliefs lie. As much as he might say otherwise, that's why he did it.
His views align with hers and not Donnie's.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Any other thoughts, Cap, or do tweets of the week?
No, sir. Let's do tweets of the week. I think I got 2 of them. I think we both got 2 of them.
We do. Are there any videos on your end of things?
No.
Oh, what's going on here?
Let me expand this so I could actually see what we're looking at again.
Okay. Yep. All right. My first one is by Glenn Greenwald. And he says, liberals.
Oh, is this? Okay. I think I know what this
Glenn Greenwald says, it's funny, actually. I forgot that this was even my tweet of the week, but right on what we were just talking. Liberals think Dick and Liz Cheney, Bill Kristol, and George W. Bush are honorable and moral patriots, while Joe Rogan is one of the worst people ever due to all the wars, torture programs, illegal domestic spying, kidnapping, etc. And he's referencing a New Republic article that says Trump cancels all of his events in favor of one of the worst people ever, with a picture of Joe Rogan. Donald Trump will be sitting down with Joe Rogan. So the New Republic is insinuating that Joe Rogan is one of the worst people ever. Yeah. While at the same time, right, like we just said, they're touting the endorsement
Liz
of
Cheney and George Bush.
Has the blood of 500,000 brown people on his hands, and 10,000-15,000 American patriot soldiers who went and fought in those wars.
And why is Joe Rogan one of the worst people? Because he is going to give Trump a fair interview that is going to break the internet. Do you understand? I think this is going to have more views than Elon Trump did on their roundtable, their X or whatever. This is going to change the political landscape for elections coming on. I think this is the mark where, and I'm not just saying this because we have a podcast, but it is now time the media takes podcasts seriously because they are failing and we are succeeding. This is in the future.
A pinnacle moment, I think so.
Yes,
I agree. Yeah.
In the future, presidents aren't going to be able to go to CNN, or presidential nominees are not just going to be able to go to CNN where they're all buddy and get these softball 5-minute interviews where you just get sound clips to use over and over again. You are going to have to sit down and be put through an uncomfortable ringer every single interview.
Yeah, and Rogan is a king. You're right.
Yeah,
he's the biggest, right? And Trump going to them, it's going to be. And I'll be honest with you, man. Like I kind of have a vibe for what Rogan's base of people is. They're not just. I mean, a lot of them are Trump supporters, but
they're not all.
They're not just diehard Trump supporters. Like Rogan is a liberal man. Let's be honest with you.
Yeah,
a liberal. He's a left winger who likes guns.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so it will be earth shattering. I do agree with you there, buddy. All right, let's move on to your next tweet. Sorry, folks, we're still getting used to the new layout here. It's a bit odd.
All right. The right to bear memes. Trump indicted for allegedly serving McDonald's customer 7th nugget in 6-piece order.
When satire is indistinguishable from reality, you know you've reached peak clown world. I could honestly see something like that being brought.
I thought when you sent the other day, McDonald's announced that there was an E. coli outbreak.
Oh, you thought that was satire?
No. I didn't think it was satire, but I thought it was set up, and like CNN the next day was going to be like, Trump worked at McDonald's and people got E. coli. Like they would blame him for it. And I just have to, I am biased, yes, but shout out Donnie Boy. Going to McDonald's was one of the greatest things you ever did. That's how you win the internet, my friends. That right there, that was a masterclass.
Going to McDonald's, going to the barbershop in the Bronx, going on Theo Vaughn, going on Joe Rogan. I have to give Donald Trump credit, man. This time around, he has run a crisp, pristine, everything you should do campaign, right? He's done it all. He's gone to every place you could possibly think of. He's made every good, funny point he could. He's become memes with the McDonald's thing. Yeah, man, I can't take that away from him. And the team, his campaign team, whoever's advising him, of course, with himself coming up with these ideas. This time around, boy, they were on top of it. Even now, JD Vance went on Theo Vaughn's show again, and talking about cocaine again.
Great.
That's hysterical. It's relatable to people.
And I just want everybody to realize, a week before the election takes place, Trump is going to do 2 things that Kamala Harris can't do. He's going to break the internet with Joe Rogan, and then on Sunday night, he's going to sell out Madison Square Garden in the heart of the bluest hellhole you can find in this great nation.
It's something, man. It is something. It's definitely historic. I will give Donald Trump that. All right. On my second one, right? What did I got here? Okay, yeah. This one's from ZV Bear on Twitter. He says Trump has multiple baby moms, got shot at twice, and worked at McDonald's. He's getting blacker by the day. You have 24 hours to respond, Barack Obama.
Oh man, that is fantastic. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
All right, one more for the old captain, then we're wrapping it up.
All right. This was from an interview she did today. I don't know this woman's name who interviewed her. Should have did 5 seconds of research, but it's from Elon Musk, and a little emoji with the eye raising. Were you honest about Biden's decline? Joe is perfectly capable. Then why are you the candidate? And it's Kamala with a confused look on her face.
Yeah. Well, sounds like she faced another, at least somewhat
another disastrous. Well, I think
this interview.
I think that woman was from CBS or MSNBC. No, CBS, I think, because they went to a barbershop and interviewed people, or they got a focus group of minorities and asked them about Trump and Kamala, and it was just disastrous.
I can imagine.
Like, we want Trump. It's not because we don't like women or anything. Like, he did better. We know he did better. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was
nuance.
Yeah, it was just a disaster for this interview.
Last point here, man. What did you think about Eminem going out there and endorsing Kamala Harris, bringing up President Obama? What did you think about that?
They're desperate. Forget
about them. What about him?
He's always hated Republicans. Even back when we listened to him, he would diss rap George Bush.
Fuck you, Dick Cheney. Fuck you, Chipper Bohr.
Yeah.
He was against the bad establishment.
Right.
People causing the wars at the time.
Genuinely, I think they killed him years ago, and this is the Eminem clone because he was too uncontrollable. I genuinely believe that. He doesn't rap the same way he used to. Yeah, he grew up a little bit. But I mean, look, as Eminem is a strong part of my childhood, my adolescence and growing up, I was that age listening to him, and to me, as of now, one of the greatest rappers ever for what we saw growing up. And I'm not surprised. All these, remember, like Rage Against the Machines, you had to have a vaccine.
Yes, you're right. It's that.
That's all it is. Yeah. That's all it is. Eminem is an old man now. He's made millions. He's not from the trailer park no more. Right. Trying to get out. He's rich.
He's part of the establishment now.
Yeah, he goes to dinners with Jay-Z and Barack Obama, and they talk about, I don't know, the dude that got murdered and found in Barack Obama's pond or whatever. And this is his life now. So of course he didn't even bend the knee. At some point in time, he just morphed into this. Yeah, pathetic being.
Again, like it's kind of surprising. It's kind of shocking to some extent. Like this guy who captured this anti-establishment, energy when he was a young guy. He channeled that, like them trying to silence him, to censor him for saying crazy shit.
They hated him.
Appearing with Elton John to be like, look, man, I just say crazy shit. Like it's all good. Like he was kind of like fuck the government type guy at the time, and just now to see him endorse that.
Yeah,
boy, again, you said it. You said it perfectly, Cap. It's Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah,
Rage on behalf of the machine.
Of the machine. Yeah,
just another example of that. Disappointing, but it is what it is. I think it's an example of how there's this really weird, perverse relationship between Hollywood, the music industry, government, the deep state.
They're all in. Yeah. They're all in it together. They use each other.
It's a weird alliance that almost kind of doesn't seem like it makes sense at times, but then you think about it, it kind of does.
Yep. And also, it's. I think it's this weird push because like Lizzo came out and was like, "Oh, if you vote for Kamala, America will be like Detroit." Okay. Listen, put the cheeseburger down, bitch.
She lost some weight recently. She's doing good.
Yeah, didn't lose enough. Take a hard look at fucking Detroit. I was there almost a decade ago, and it wasn't doing well then. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's this weird obsession to be like, Detroit's not that bad of a place. Look, Eminem. Look at Eminem, not that burning building over there.
Yeah, a white guy that came out of a black neighborhood. That's our example of success.
This is our ploy to get the black community, the black vote.
Wrap it up, Captain.
All right, Doom Nation. Thank you guys very much for listening. We are going to try and get in one more political episode before Halloween.
Probably Monday. Probably next Monday. We'll see. Either that or Tuesday. Yeah.
But I promise you guys, we have something dropping that you guys are not going to want to miss on Halloween, where there's going to be skits. There's going to be another movie. If you're wondering what the hell am I talking about, just go back in time. Yeah. Watch our Lord of the Rings Halloween special. Watch our Cheech and Chong Halloween special. You'll get it. It's going to be a fun night.
Every year, we're going to get better at this. And
we're eventually going to win an Emmy.
Yeah. All
right.
Exactly.
So, Doom Nation, we are very excited to make this Halloween special for you. So, as always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Scagz, any final words?
Adios.
Peace out, everybody.